and videos. With me here today is Carlos, our Director of Trust and Safety. My name is Andrew. Some of you may know me from the Client Success team, who's recently moved over into the new Community Engagement Strategist. Carlos will be talking a little bit more about online safety and image moderation and how that affects online communities. Thanks for joining, Carlos.
Thanks for having me. It's good to be here again.
Yeah. Do you want to tell us a little bit more about your role as a Director of Trust and Safety?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm very fortunate to be in this cool role here at Hat because I work with a lot of our clients and partners in shaping healthier online communities. And what that looks like many times is actually streamlining moderation processes and making sure that things are efficient as they can be and as sustainable as they can be. That involves image moderation, for example. In doing that, a lot of the things that I also talk to our clients and partners is about making sure that their moderators are well taken care of, that their wellness is something that's at the top priority too.
That's really good. That's good. So let's jump into things. Most folks, I think, on this webinar are familiar with it, but just in case they're not, what exactly is image moderation?
Oh, that's a great question. So if we just think about a community, it may be a forum, it may be an online game where people can post profile pictures, or anywhere where people are changing pictures, exchanging, communicating through that medium, right? In that case, you are faced with a very basic question, which is what images are okay on my site, on my product, and what images are not okay. And to accomplish the curation or the approval and rejection of those images, you have to rely on some sort of method. One is manual moderation, actually having a human being who is going to go through that process. The other one is using an automated system. Nowadays, very much so artificial intelligence, using machine learning to automate a lot of that process. Perhaps a combination of both is also done.
Mm-hmm.
In my experience, a lot of companies still do a lot of that work manually.
I see. That's interesting. And so why is it important for an online community to have an image moderation process?
Well, it's really important if we consider it from the impact that it would have on that community, right? We're going to talk more about this, but just think about this scenario of a very negative image and how it can impact your users in your community and ultimately your brand and your reputation. But if we consider from the user point of view, I think it's very helpful for us in the industry to put ourselves in the place of our users, the people who are using our products, who we created the product for, right? Let's say you're coming from work, you're coming home from work after a stressful day for whatever reason, and you want to unwind. You want to go to your favorite product online website and have some fun. Exchange some pictures, funny pictures with your friends. If you log in and the first thing you see is a very startling image, very graphic, very aggressive, not what you're really expecting, like how would that make you feel on that situation?
Not great.
That's exactly. Would you probably be inclined to say, I don't know, maybe I should log off. It's not really the experience I was hoping, right?
Yeah, maybe. I'd feel, yeah, I could feel that way. I can see why you feel that way.
So we have to remember then that there are many options out there. There are many different products, right? Mm-hmm. If this product is not really fulfilling the purpose that it has, which is, let's say, to be a fun place where I can communicate with my friends and I'm being bombarded by images that I don't want to see, we have to remember that that user probably will be on the edge of leaving or trying something else.
Mm-hmm. I see. That makes sense. I can see why that would be a damaging part of user experience. Now, what are the main challenges that the industry has seen with image moderation as it currently stands?
Well, I see three key challenges. Of course, there are more, but let's talk about three.
Right.
One is volume. For a lot of websites and apps, it's just really a matter of sheer volume. If you want to be a successful product, you really should be pushing for a lot of users, right? You want to reach as many people as you can globally. That means a lot of images being shared. So nature of the beast, the more images you have, the harder it's going to be to get on top of it. The second challenge is really the gray area. when I talk about the gray area, I need to step back and say a couple of things first. In our experience, working with a lot of different online communities, and this is also true for text, by the way, for chat, but for images, most of the images posted online are they're fine. Innocuous, they're part of the community, of the conversation, right? We're talking about landscapes, selfies, pictures with friends being funny, pets, what have you. Those are most of the pictures there. However, you have the other extreme, which is the obviously against your community guideline. And in that case, we're talking about pornographic content for a lot of folks, hateful imagery with hateful symbols, and also graphic violence. For a lot of websites, doesn't matter if it's kids audience, teenagers, or adults, there is a low tolerance for a lot of those topics, right? The gray area is the in-between where you really require human nuance, because the artificial intelligence will not be able to do all the gray area, right? And that is, I'll give an example. If we look into the Napalm Girl picture and what happened with Facebook, that picture depicts a girl who she's naked, a young girl, and she's in the Vietnam war, and she's walking away from a war zone, right? That picture was shared with the intent of discussing the history and for journalistic purposes, right? However, it was taken down. So there was controversy around that, of course. You can imagine how hard it is to do this when you have so many gray areas there where you need that human nuance. So of course, that's challenging. And the third point is the financial and the emotional cost of having moderators who review that type of content. We need to really think from a human perspective. Financial, because it's expensive to pay for specialized, well-trained moderators, and you should pay them well. It's a specialized type of job. However, if we look into the emotional cost as well, how damaging it is for people who are reviewing that sort of content. Imagine as a moderator, you were sitting in front of a computer and you're doing this day after day and reviewing hundreds and thousands of images a day, and you never know when you're going to come across something that's really going to shock you, right?
That's fair. I could see that being pretty challenging to experience day in and day out. Yeah. So with all those challenges aside, like what are the trends that you've seen the industry adopt in order to address them?
So even though earlier I said that my experience, a lot of companies are still doing those things manually or struggling to know what is the best process to do this. I feel like the industry is becoming much more open to the fact that artificial intelligence is more accessible nowadays. It's more precise. It's becoming better. It's easier to deploy, to have access to it. So that's good because people are becoming aware that automation plays a really nice role. However, we were just talking about this, having the second point that I think industry is catching on and doing is having well-trained moderators, people who are very well prepared to do this job, and having a diverse team. Diversity, globally speaking, culturally speaking, diversity in gender, a team that can be as unbiased as possible to do the best possible work. So if you think about that, you take AI, artificial intelligence automates a lot of those obviously good images and rejects a lot of those obviously bad images, right? And then you have a really well-trained team of moderators who can take care of that gray area I was talking about. By the way, like that reduces moderation workload like immensely. Just so you guys know, you guys are watching right now, we're going to have another webinar in September with one of our great partners, and they will be talking about specifics in terms of how much they were able to reduce their moderation workload. So stay tuned for that. But it's really key, those 2 points. And the third point is wellness plans. I think the industry is becoming much more aware. We have seen a lot of articles out there and even documentaries talking about concerns of how damaging that sort of work can be to a human being. So industry is becoming more aware that they have to have wellness plans. They have to take care of their moderators.
That's fair. That's good to know. That's something very important. And so where do you see as more organizations adapt and pick up these kinds of best practices, where do you see the future of image moderation being? Is it going to be purely AI? Is it going to be a combination? Like, what do you think will be the future of it?
Well, in terms of the future, but if I may just stop you there for a second, I think it would be actually really nice to talk about what are some of the best practices first, if that's okay.
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what have you seen as being best practices people have adopted, actually? Sorry to jump ahead there.
No, all good. In terms of best practices, exactly that, striking that nice balance of leveraging the best of moderation that is done automatically with the right combination of humans, because then you can have a smaller team, you can have a more sustainable process. You don't have to keep dumping money into hiring moderators. You can have a really tight team of moderators that do a great job. So that's one of the best practices I recommend, is marrying those two concepts, technology and the human nuance, is really critical. The second one is how, this is an actionable one I wanted to share, is how do you deal with new users? Because new users, they just created an account in your product, right? And you don't know enough about them. And now they're going to share images. There's an inherent risk there. What is the motivation? What's the intention from that user? My recommendation, and something that some of our clients already do, and it works really well, is create a specific flow for new users. You know that there are new users in your system. So create a flow where every picture they post for a certain amount of time, you determine that those images are going to a pre-moderation queue, meaning they need to be checked by your moderators before they go live. So so you stay on the safer side, have a higher degree of confidence before you know what those users are all about, and then you can put them on the regular flow of automation.
That makes sense.
The third one is exactly about that wellness plans that I was referring to wellness plans before. And here is, I'm not talking about like just going lightly and saying to people, oh yeah, just take a break here and there. Like that doesn't cut it, right? I'm talking about wellness and resilience as something that it's at the forefront of your company and your culture, because you care about this and you always have this conversation with your moderation team, and they understand this is key, and it's important that they take care of themselves. It's important that the team is taking care of each other. It's really about dealing with stress. When we do that sort of work, our cortisol levels will rise for many different reasons. So we want to be able to be prepared to do that job and do the best job. Some people relieve stress in in particular ways, right? Maybe they like to exercise, other people like to play music. You can also have a support system, meaning you have a list of people, friends and family, you can call after a particular stressful day. And of course, those people know what you do, they're okay being in that list. But in summary, making sure that this topic is taken seriously and you offer support. Some companies have a wellness line that people can phone anonymously, right? Those are all good ideas.
I see. Okay. And with those best practices, getting back to my earlier question that I jumped ahead on, where do you think with that it'll all actually, end up in the future, 1 year, 5 years from now? Where do you think the industry is going to go?
Well, artificial intelligence is improving at a very fast pace. So that's, from this point of view, it's good, because the more images artificial intelligence sees, good and bad, for using those terms, it will get better. Right. By the nature of the beast, it will get better. You will know more cases and be able to separate those things. But also, we have to consider that things change. Technology changes, and the way people share images change. Think about GIFs and memes. In the past, those things weren't really there. Now they are. And GIFs are in between images and videos, right? So you have an extra challenge. I believe technology will adapt. Who knows what type of augmented reality will be added to the experience of sharing images. So we will have to adapt. Filtering technology will have to adapt, and people will have to adapt.
That's a good point. That's a good point. But as we see the industry change, at the end of the day, all online communities are businesses looking to drive profitability. And what does image moderation offer the business side of an online community?
I think it offers many, and it's like a really business crucial thing if you have images on your site. It's a matter of accountability and responsibility towards a lot of people. But let's talk about very specific business benefits. The first one is brand equity. And when I say this, it's a very obvious connection that if you have very negative images on your site that are you're exposing users to that and exposing your moderators to that, there are many implications how that can affect your business, your brand, your reputation in the industry. So that's a key one. The other one is reducing moderation costs. And we have alluded to that already. It's expensive to pay for a moderation team. So if you are leveraging image filtering that is automated, you're gonna cut a lot of the need to have a lot of human hours. So it's reduction of cost directly there, financial benefit, right? But there are other 2 points that I want to share that are related to user experience. And it's related to the purpose of your website or your app or product. People are there to fulfill that purpose, to have fun, to use your fun features, right? Acquiring a user is darn hard. We all know that. So if you have all those negative images there, it's gonna be hard to actually make sure that they are there. So to acquire them and to have a good reputation of a place where people should be going. So think about the churn perspective. Don't want to lose those users, right? But the other point is retention. You also want to keep people around. You want to keep people interacting. So you want to approve images as fast as you reject. Because if people are sharing cool images, they should be able to have that go live soon. So they can have a cool experience and stay in your website, right?
So to summarize what you're saying in a lot of ways, basically to drive a good business of an online community, you have to have fast response, good quality images that are up there, and the kind of images that will keep users around.
Exactly, and deal with the negative ones quickly as well, so that it doesn't damage their experience and doesn't damage your brand.
That's very interesting. Well, thank you for sharing all that, Carlos. It looks like we have a question at this time. Leah will be reading off the questions just in the background here.
Okay, not sure if everyone can hear me, but the question that we have is, how do long videos get scanned for toxic content?
Oh, that's a great question. And just to make sure everybody heard, the question is, how do long videos get scanned for toxic content? So there are different techniques, there are different ways of doing it. But a very classical one is you take the video, and reality is that videos are a series of still frames, right? In motion. So one way of doing this, you can choose how many frames you actually want to scan for. And really, this is technologically speaking, you can do a lot. You can choose a lot of frames. It's going to be costly, right? And I hear a lot of people in the industry who are concerned about, what if there's a 1 hour video and smack in the middle there's that really inappropriate scene that we cannot afford to have. So 2 things about that. One thing is you have to measure what is your tolerance level. How much you're willing to live with. If your tolerance level is very low and you have to be darn sure that there's nothing bad there, choose more frames. So use a technology that you can choose more frames and sparse, right? Like all through the video. So you can have really clear signals if there's anything going on there. And then have also humans reviewing those videos, because that's going to be crucial, right? You got to make sure, but don't rely on just that. Rely on other signals too. For example, rely on reporting. If people report that video, let's say 5 people reported a video and you have some questionable frames. Now you should be looking into it, right?
That's fair. Absolutely. Looks like we have another question as well too.
So the question that we have, and I don't know if we know this offhand, it's something we might have to look into, is how many images, videos will your tool moderate in an hour?
In an hour?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys know that. I don't know offhand.
How many images and videos we can do in an hour?
Yeah.
That is a fantastic question. I will answer it partially right now because I want to give you the real deal of numbers. But when it comes to volume for us of text and scaling and images, I believe as well, it really depends on your requirements. Like we've had clients who push like so much content, and we're talking about like the billions a month, So it really depends on your requirement. It depends on how much you need, how fast you need it to be. But in essence, let's do a follow-up for you and make sure that everybody that's attending here will have a solid number.
Mm-hmm. Do we have any more questions at this time?
We do.
Oh, one more.
Yeah,
Perfect.
we do. Pardon me. Oh, this is a really good one, actually, and it relates really well to our the webinar that's coming up next month. The question is, what solutions or plans do you have for images that are hand-drawn? Additionally, do you have any suggestions for moderating hand-drawn images?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't want to spoil too much our next webinar because you will hear from a very experienced team who deals with this every day, right? Nothing can really replace that experience. They're awesome. And I encourage you to attend to get a really good picture of that. And it's a month from now, essentially, or even a bit less. But what I would say is there are cases where it's possible to train custom topics. So provided you have enough images of inappropriate hand-drawn images, you might be able to train a machine learning model for a custom case and topic. But again, think about that, right? You gotta have humans in that mix. And you gotta have different signals too. If people are posting hand-drawn pictures, what else can you find? Other signals about that user. Do they have an inappropriate username? What's their history? Have they been reported many times before for posting inappropriate pictures? Have they been reported for saying something nasty in chat? What's their reputation in the system that you're using? You should look more holistically at those things and not just the one picture that's going on there. I'll leave it at that point because you will see much more actionable points in our next webinar.
We have another question. This is a good one. Well, they've all been great. How can the technology help with avatars for underage users, especially for platforms in COPPA compliant countries?
Ooh, great. Okay. So you can leverage facial recognition. That's a key one, right? For platforms that need to be COPPA compliant, obviously a selfie is a problem, right? And facial recognition is super strong nowadays. So it's something that you can benefit from, is just having that automation to block those selfies and warn the user. So there's a little bit of an education there and a follow through with consistency, right? That's the more obvious way I can see. But of course, people might be able to put numbers and text over images as well. And then there is the optical character recognition, which is another technology you can also benefit from.
We have another good question here.
We have a great question for Andrew.
Oh.
It's, where did you get your sweet flower shirt? The best question of the day.
That is actually hands down the best question that we've
Truly,
had so far. Urban Planet in Vancouver, downtown. Yeah. That was where I got it. It was on sale and worth every penny.
Andrew is our style guru here.
The whole collection of them.
Really quickly, before we let everyone go, I actually just wanted to, I have one question, is what, within the Community SIFT tool, what topics do we cover for images?
Ooh, that's a good one.
So we have the pornographic content is really like our strongest suit. We have very high accuracy for that. A lot of our clients have benefit from that accuracy and that full trust on that topic. We also have violent content or extreme violence, gory content, right? Drugs and alcohol, any imagery that is referring to that topic. There is also extremism and hateful content, symbols, and guns and weapons.
Yeah.
Exactly. Those are the key topics that we see and our clients use. But like I said, custom topics as well. But bear in mind that custom topics with machine learning, you need in the thousands of images. So if you have just like 3 images that bothered you in the past, then you can really train a custom topic. You need thousands and thousands. It's really how this artificial intelligence system works, right?
Yep.
One more question. Let's see. Do you have an automated AI visual recognition platform that scans for image frames that contain nudity, or is it a live human team monitoring all the different rooms and images?
Ooh, great
In
question.
our case,
Yeah.
for us, it is automated. It's the artificial intelligence. It's the algorithm that has requirements of what's going to pick up in an image that gives it a high confidence that there is nudity and there is pornographic content there. It's on a risk scale. So if we say this picture is actually a risk 6, what we call risk 6, there's a very high degree of confidence involved that this is actually a pornographic image. So that's taken care automatically by the system. And that's the beauty, right? We're talking about not impacting humans. That's exactly it. It's having that confidence that there's no need to look at those images. Perhaps you want to do a little bit of quality control and somebody who is highly trained and prepared to see those images. But in reality, you should reach a point where you're very confident to automate the rejection of those images there and have humans look at the gray area, which is maybe more racy pictures that are kind of in between.
Cool. Do we have any more questions at this time, Leah?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, right on. Cool. Well, it looks like we actually ran a little bit over for this webinar. So, Carlos, thank you very much for joining us today with all your fantastic, wonderful knowledge.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Thank you for joining us today, everyone. It was wonderful to have you all here. Hope you all learned a lot. We are conducting another webinar that Carlos was mentioning earlier with PopJam on September 12th. So we will be sending follow-ups on that, letting you know more information about it, and hope that you attend. Thanks.
Oh, hey, we have one more question.
Oh,
we have
one
a
more.
last-minute question.
One last-minute question.
It's a really good one. So it is, does your platform support content moderation for 3 main use cases? Live video chat moderation, where we ban users instantly if we detect nudity, inappropriate and offensive profile images, and inappropriate offensive text in a username.
So
do we support all 3 of those?
If we support all those,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. In terms of text, username is one of the specialties of our filter, right? Like it's a special case because usernames, as you know, words are clumped together. So there's a whole different logic for the algorithm to take care of that case. Absolutely. We have a lot of clients who benefit from that part. And in terms of video, we have the video capabilities for filtering. And there's nothing that would be really stopping it from doing it with the live videos either, right?
And profile pics.
And profile pics, yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
Pictures could be in profile or it could be shared in a forum format or in an app. We can definitely check for both.
Oh, one more. There's so many questions coming up, you guys.
Keep going, we got all day. Let's do
it. This is actually a really interesting question. Does the tool auto censor or only auto remove content like nudity? So I'm assuming by auto censor, maybe that means like blurring it out. Is that correct?
Well, in that case, in the flow that you would put there, a lot of our clients would say, if an image is identified as nudity of a certain level, pornographic content of a certain level, it's blocked. It doesn't even go live, right? You don't even have that exposure. Nobody's going to see that. But that's up to you, right? Some folks might say, I actually want a certain degree, maybe a certain risk of images to go live, and then I take it down on a post-moderation basis. It's a risk that some folks might take, but then some people will say the very explicit images, no, they're never going to show.
But on our end here, we don't have our tool wouldn't blur out. Yeah.
No.
Kind of like, I'm thinking in text, you can hash out the certain things that you don't want people to see, but yeah.
No, we wouldn't be able to do the same thing with the blurring. No, it wouldn't be similar.
No.
Yeah. But I mean, as you were alluding to, it does also depend on the community's tolerance level. So for some communities, it's better to have, the image get posted and then take it down later because that's a better fit for the community. Which is one of the beauties of artificial intelligence is that we can adapt it and customize it and integrate it in the way that works best for each individual community, from COPPA to non-COPPA to adults.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, one more question. Okay, we'll take one more and then we're going to have to let people go.
Eventually we have to stop.
Do you provide nudity detection SDK-based setup? I don't know if we have an SDK for images.
No, we don't offer an SDK. I can handle this one. Yeah. So when the services that we offer in our solutions, they come within a RESTful API. We provide it, make it easy to integrate during kind of an onboarding process. Our customer success team walks you through everything, walks through all the API documentation and what the best practices are for using it and how it's managed. So we do not provide an SDK, but we make it very, very, very easy for you. Cool, right on. Well, unfortunately, we don't have time for any more questions. Thank you so much for all of them, everyone. Thank you again, Carlos, for all your knowledge.
Thank you.
Thank you again, everyone, for coming. September 12th is our next webinar with PopJam. We really hope to see you there, and have a nice day.
Bye.
Ciao.